Hi everyone, welcome back. In the last video, we have learned how a multi-tenant users from a different tenants can, authenticate using the identity server and use this, their application. Alright, so in this video we will going to cover everything. So means we'll be using the super admin. We will log in with the super admin and create new super admins. We will also create tenants and then we'll create admins in those tenants and as well as the basic tenants users as well. So what will happen in the end, the tenant will log into their system and then they will do with some operation. If their tenant is admin, then they can create new tenants. Or if the tenant is a basic user, then just they can simply do their basic CRUD operations. So that is what we will be covering in this video. All right, so I have already explained this architecture. So if you want to understand a little bit about, you can check this, the previous videos from the same series. All right, so I have for this demo, I have close to four services. So one is admin portal, which will take care of this creating tenant, admin, and users stuff like that. Gateway is just a gateway. I mean, like we just our postman will be communicating to gateway, and gateway will just redirect that request to the respective service. User portal is the portal which will be so if the user is a basic user, depending on a particular tenant, it will just serve that kind of request. And identity server is basically used to provide the token, or I would say authentication authorization purpose. All right, so let me run all this stuff. Okay, this one is already running. Let me restart. Looks like all are running. Yes, these all are running. This one is not running, so let me run this also. Okay, so looks like all the steps are running. Now I'll show you from the Postman how we will do all the operation which I just talked about it in my architecture diagram. So like creating super admin, creating tenant, creating admins in the tenant and the basic users in the tenant. All right, so for that I need to go to tenant API. So admin portal I mean to say that is nothing but I think this one. So in the tenant admin portal we have two controllers, super admin and the tenant admin. And I already told these are the features with respect to super admin and these are two features with respect to the tenant admin. All right. If you directly try to access here, you won't be able to because all are decorated with the authorized keyword. I'll just go to admin portal controller and I'll show you. So this control is having, whoever is having the super admin role will be able to perform all the operations. Similarly for tenant admin, whoever is having this tenant admin permission or a role, I would say, will be able to do those purposes like creating new admin and a basic user in the tenant. All right, so first let's log in. So you can see the DB is complete empty. Let me close this all stuff. All right, you can see in my DB there is a one user which is default user. So let me copy the email ID and let's try to get the token. Let me clear all the previous tokens. And this time I'm logging with a default user which is a super admin actually. Okay, so and the password is a admin. You can see that authentication is completed and we got the token. Let's use this token. Now what I'll be doing, I will be creating new super admin. So I'll be using this API, create super admin. For that I need to pass these information like username, password, and first name and last name, stuff like that. But I'm creating super admin. That means this with the super admin with respect to the entire application. Okay, so he's having global kind of role, right? So let's go to this Postman, and I have already created these endpoints over here to speed up the stuff over here. So you can see this is the endpoint which I configured in the gateway. I'll come to those configuration once I complete the demo. So just see this SM is super admin, and then this is the API super admin, and this is the token. Let me delete these old tokens, and I'll paste the what I copied. Okay, so token is pasted, and this is the first user which I will be creating. super admin one, I would say. Let's say I'll just, for the simplicity, I'm just typing a dummy data. Okay, and let's create it. You can see that it's giving 200. Let's go to DB, and if I refresh, you can see a new user is created with a role called super admin, and it is having something like SA1, that was the username. So that is why it's created a new email ID for that user with @infinitepoc.com. So because that's a default one, right? So super admin is having this domain name. All right, so now let me log in with this user. I'll copy this one. I'll close this one because I won't be creating new user now again. Super admin, I mean to say. Okay, so hold over, let me delete this one, and password is also same. You can see I'm able to authenticate, use this token, copy. All right, now I'll show you how to create tenants. So since I am a super admin and super admin has access to create tenants. So for that, the gateway URL is super admin. Then super admin is the like a controller, and because this is not even a controller name, I just kept it in the gateway pretty much similar. And I'm creating a tenant right now. So I'll just pass the token over here. So token is there in the header, and let me create. Let's say I'm going to create a default tenant, which is this one. Let me collapse this one. So this is the endpoint I'm talking about it. So if you see, endpoint is requiring support contract name and the connection string and the domain name. So when creating the a new tenant, I need to have these many information basically. So what is the domain name of the tenant? What is the company name? And what is the support contact in different cases required? And this is the where the DB we want to create, because we will be creating a separate DB for each tenant, right? That is why this information is required. All right. So let me push this. So tenant is created. If you go back to the DB now, see there is only one database right now and only one collection, which is having a super admin kind of information. If I refresh now, you should be able to see a tenant collection is created, which will be holding all the information of all the tenants. So now we have created a new tenant called XYZ 123 Limited. That's a company and that's a domain name. And the DB name is automatically we are creating like tenant underscore X1 z123.com. All right. So whenever we want to do any kind of operation like creating a new user inside this tenant, then that user will go into that DBs. I mean to say this DB. All right. So now let's create two users. One is admin tenant, like tenant, one admin user in the tenant and the basic user in the tenant. All right. So let's go back to the Postman. So for that, I just need to create a admin first. So super admin, create tenant admin. Alright, so for that, I will use the same token again. So token is for this super admin. Okay, now I'm creating a new user. So if you see the contract of that one now, this is the contract I'm talking right now. Create tenant user. So in this, if you see, I'm asking whether the user is a tenant one, a basic user, or admin or a basic. All both the both that permission this tenant user is having. Okay, so this time I will select admin one, tenant admin. These things will be automatically injected through from the token, and there's the user information. Okay, so let's go back to the Postman again. So I am saying user is admin both, not me. Create simple admin first, tenant admin. So I'll just replace this role to tenant admin, and I need to give a domain name because it's a super admin. So super admin can create tenant admins or any users in any tenant. So for that we need to tell the domain name which in that domain name in which domain we want to create the users. All right, so that is why I'm giving a domain name over here, because that is going to be unique across, right? So permission is tenant admin, and this is the domain inside that we want to create it, and username is like tenant admin 3 or some whatever it is. I'll just say one now for. All right, and the permission is admin. That means he can do, I mean, he can create new users and he can obviously have all the permissions, whatever is supposed to be there with respect to the admin thing. All right, so let me execute this one. You can see it's giving 200 now. If I go back and refresh the DB now, you can see a new database got created. Inside, if I go to the collection list, I'm going to see the user details. You should see a new user got created with the TA1 at the rate xyz123 dot domain, because that's the name we have created. All right, and that's a tenant admin because this is the user. Let's create one more user this time. I will say to T tenant basic user, I would say. Two. All right. And this guy is having just one permission, is basic user. So tenant is able to create only 10 new users. Basic user can do only kind of messaging. He doesn't have a permission to create new tenants. And admin and basic means both, I mean, it has both the permission, whatever is above is mentioned over here. All right. So now basic user, let me create this user. It's created. Now let's see. See, both the users are created. All right. Now what we will do, we'll create one more user right now using this tenant ID. So first I'll show you. Let me log in with this one and try to create an user. It should give 403 because user is valid, but it's not authorized. Okay, so let's create a, I'll just save this one and go to token thing. I'll delete this token, clear cookie. Let's authenticate. So I'm using with a tenant basic user. Okay, so user is authenticated. We got the token. Now let's copy it. Let me close this one. Now tenant user creating new tenants. So we will be creating a new tenants and the permission is tenant admin. We are creating a new admin now. Okay, so let me put the token over here. So this token belongs to basic user. All right. So if I try to hit, see it's giving 403 because it doesn't, this user doesn't have a permission to create new users. Only tenant admin can do that activity. All right. So for that I need to go back and copy the admin email ID and then again go back to this stuff, generate a new token, or let me log in with this tenant admin now. I hope you are getting what I'm trying to say. Okay, so we got new token, use this token, copy. Now if I paste this time, it will create new user. All right, so token is there and I'm creating a new admin. Okay, so I can say tenant admin 2. And why I'm not passing the domain name? Because the user is authenticated. So the token has the domain information. That's why I need not to pass it again. Only this role type I need to pass it. I'll show you the both the things right now. So you can see, oh, we got 200 and we got T, I mean, this is the username. Let's go back to DB. If I refresh this time, you can see the new tenant admin got created. And obviously this is admin, so it can create a basic user also. So, okay, that's what I'm trying to explain. All right, now what we will do, we will use the same token, but for sending the messages. So I'll go back to the architecture. So what happened so far? Super admin logged into here and created new tenant and created new users using the one of the microservice called admin portal. Now this service is responsible only for the tenant users. So they will do their day-to-day activities, all sort of operation with respect to the individual tenant. So for that, let me log into now tenant using the tenant email ID, basic users. Now let me go back and get a new token. Okay, So tenant user can send messages. Okay, so for that we need to put the token here. I mean, just kind of to do kind of list. So we got a token, and then let's say I'm passing 1 2 3 4 5 6. That's a message I'm sending from this user, which I logged in, right? So I logged in with this email ID, tenant basic user 2. So if I send, okay, so we got the message back. Okay, it's done. Email ID is this one, and this is the message. Now, if I go back to DB, if I refresh this, you see user detail collection got created. Sorry, user message got created with this message ID. Okay, now let me create one more user, or I would say let's create a new tenant altogether. So okay, so what I'll do so that we will have two tenants now. One flow I already covered just now. All right, so let me copy tenant admin email ID again. Maybe I will use this time this one. This is not required. I'll just create fast. Only thing I need to get a token now freshly clear. So this is super admin token. We'll create new tenant this time again so that we can see it will create a separate DB again. Okay, and to body this is the so instead of say XYZ I will say ABC. Okay, ABC. Here I will say ABC. All right, now let's go back and see. To tenant is created. If I go back to DB, which is over here, you can see the new tenant got created. Okay, so now let me create users. I will create one user in this admin and in the both, which will have both the permission to simplify this stuff. All right, so let me go to this one, and this time I will create permission, which is admin as well as the basic user also, both together. And then I need to give a domain name, which I can obviously copy from here. So the domain name is this. Okay, now I'll say tenant admin, let's say 4. Now let me create this one. You can see user is created. Now if I refresh, it will create a new DB altogether. Refresh, you can see the one more database got created, ABC123, and it has right now only one collection user details. Now if I log in with this one, this time, observe carefully. Okay, so let me clear this, clear the token. We got the token, use token, copy. Now if I send the message, it will go to a different database altogether. Okay, let's change the message to hyphen ABC. Okay, so data like data is when I'm gone to the DB. If I refresh this collection, you can see user message is there. So you let me close all this thing. You see, so using the admin super admin, we are able to create two tenants, and each tenant is having their own users, and they're like users, they can do whatever they want to do. So the data is also in a separate databases. So depending on the users, I will like some people will say I want this kind of GB, that kind of DB, that much size should be there. So that's all sort of thing is possible. All right, just now we have sent this user message into ABC, which is also coming over here. Okay, so the demo is almost done. Now let me walk you through the code little but this identity server I have covered many times, so that's not a big deal. Gateway is the configuration which I'll cover now. So that is also covered by the way, just that configuration I'm just trying to explain here. So you can see there is one more video I have already created how to inject the email ID in the header and all sort of like sometimes some information you need is part of the domain. Sorry, what I'm trying to say header. Okay, so that those specific headers claims to the header transformation you can do like this. There is already a video. I'll put a link also in the description so that you will get to know how I'm doing that. And I was explaining, right, this is SA super admin, which is underlying going into API v1 super admin. Similarly, there is one more endpoint I have created, super admin, and this is for different purpose. Okay, so if you see the difference, there is a little difference. So this is doesn't have a parameter and this has a parameter. Okay, so that is where the difference is. Now one more is that this is for the tenant admin. So tenant admin is having the role thing we are passing in the URL. So that is why it's taking a TAN gateway. And the last one, not the least, this is for the user portal. So where we are just directly saying slash home and you have two endpoints get and post, which if I want to show you, which I can show you over here. So same thing, we were passing the message, right? This is the message string. All right, so that's pretty much about the gateway and admin port user portal. I just want to show one more thing which is very important. Let me close all of this and tenant startup extension. So how I am connected to DB, right? At whenever, so you might have observed that there are two DBs got created. This message, user message into ABC123 and user message into XYZ 123. So what happened whenever I'm trying to authenticate you through the identity server? I got the token. The token is having all the information like domain name and email ID and all sort of information. So when I try to try to connect to the user portal API, so what I do, first thing I fetch the domain name from that header, because I using the gateway I'm injecting the domain name in the header, and from the domain name I use the cache because I don't want to hit the DB to get to know where the DB, where is the DB for that particular domain. So I'll use the cache, which will give me the connection string stuff. You can see the connection string and the database name here. And then using this cache I got the data and I can just create an object of that. So yeah, it's a cache. Okay, so every time whoever is connecting, I get the domain name, got the connection string using the cache and just populate the DB, and then everything will be smooth as it is. All right, that's pretty much about this video. Thank you very much.